I received it about a year ago, and it's a copy of a 1692 Andrea Guarneri, which makes it sound very swanky. It's beautiful, and I love it. I love it, for lots of reasons. One is because it's in memory of my parents, which is obviously means a lot to me, but the other is it's a wonderful cello. A few years ago now, both my parents were diagnosed with cancer. Basically, not to put it too unsubtly, they started shedding their hard-earned cash, which they thought they were going to be spending on holidays, and suddenly realised they weren't going to have a chance to. So that started happening, and I was suddenly in a position where I knew my parents were both going to pass away, sadly, in the next few years, and I was also in a position where I could think about possibly upgrading my instrument. Basically, the one way of doing that would be to have a new one made. And I felt it was a really lovely, positive gesture with this money that was coming from my parents, who knew they weren't long for the world, to ask someone to make something brand new, which would be, to a certain extent, in their memory. Instruments, when they're brand new, they start one way and they change. The wood gets used to its new situation and being played, and it does change all the time. But I've done some really lovely, exciting things. I've played a solo in this lovely hall, and I played some chamber music on it, and it's a great pleasure. And it has a little note on the label on the inside next to the maker's name, just saying in memory of Celia and Michael. So it means a lot to me. I was brought up in a family where we all did music. I have a brother and sister, and we all played the piano, and we all played another instrument. Music, and classical music specifically, was there all the time, and it was normal. I think it's fair to say at that stage it was clear that I was not bad at it. Amongst my peers and people in youth orchestra, I would end up getting through grades quicker or whatever. And actually, when I was doing my A-levels, I wanted to be a sound engineer. We've got some microphones here, and looking at all the wires thinking, oh yeah, lovely. But the horrible truth was that I wasn't such a good student as it was necessary to be. So I ended up going to the Royal Northern College of Music, studying cello in Manchester, and the rest, as they say, is history. Outside of work, I have two lovely daughters. So they are, I suppose, they're not my hobby. But, they are something that I spend as much of my time as I can around them, although they're teenagers at the moment, so maybe that's not what they want to do. I feel for my kids sometimes, because they don't really have much choice, and I see the same thing for them, that it's normal for them to be exposed to all this music, and I excitedly sort of say to them, oh, you've got to listen to, like, the Widor Toccata, amazing organ piece. And I remember telling them about it, and then we found a recording of the big organ in Notre Dame, and we were listening to it over breakfast, and I sort of stood back and thought, actually, is this okay that they think this is normal? But they seem to love it, and so yes, there is definitely symmetry. Actually, Lydia has developed just recently a really passionate interest in dubstep. So good. I'm trying to enjoy dubstep too, and it's good for me too to be taken out of my all-classical world every now and again. Playing a musical instrument professionally is not necessarily an entirely healthy thing. We do multiple hours of playing every day when we're working, and so yes, I think I was aware, having had twinges here and there, that I probably needed to look after myself, and there are various ways of doing that, but I thought I'd get into yoga. I think it's a good match, basically. I am one of those people who, if there is a way to injure yourself doing physical exercise, I will find it. And it seems yoga has a certain amount of safety, or at least self-restraint, built into it. So, so far, so good. I constantly have to be checking that I'm doing the best I possibly can, because I make up a quarter of a section. There are 4 cellos. And if I'm doing it, not just if I'm doing it badly, everyone knows about it, but they tell me quite quickly. But if I'm not doing it in a way which helps, it needs to be constructive, it needs to be fitting in, all of those things. And actually that connection with your colleagues, that connection therefore with the music, is what makes playing in a smaller ensemble so fulfilling, and also hopefully for the audience more engaging, that you really can feel like you have a relationship as an audience with that number 4 cello. You can see their sort of struggle or their efforts in doing their work. I think that connection, that human connection, is what I really value in making music. But it makes you feel really connected to lots of other people, and in this way which is, for me, incredibly natural and also incredibly positive. We live in this amazing building which sits here like a sort of beacon for what we're doing, and we give what I feel are extraordinary concerts in this place which is, quite far-flung, and I find that really moving. And I feel like that regularly when I come into this building and meet up with my amazing colleagues and play wonderful music. I hope it can go on forever.